James having one of those Powerball subs again. I'm going to talk about money art and lake effects. And today I don't have a poem to read, so I don't know how long this deck dinner is going to be, because I only have 2 movies here to review, and well, one's a documentary. But maybe James will want to talk about it. I mean, the one at the bottom there, the bottom of the stack, lake effects. Wow, it's terrible. It was. I fell asleep through part of it, and when I woke up, I'm like, oh no, why did I wake up? Like, it's that bad. So I think most of it was probably the camera work seemed low grade, and you know, is it directing when they have like shots that I don't know aren't so great? Honestly, I just didn't like it. So I'm going to talk about money art. I'm not going to talk about the bottom of the stack one because it's crap. And honestly, money art, this really let me down. I thought it would be a lot better than it was. But it is only 53 minutes long. But honestly, I think they could have done better with those.
Is it a PBS thing?
No, it's something like there's a lot of subtitles, people from like Germany and stuff, so and Italy and whatever. So I can't imagine it would be. Anyway, they say at the beginning they study the relationship between money and art, and I suppose they do a little bit. But anyway, I'll read you my notes, and just be aware that, I mean, I was just writing while I was listening, so I might have written things down wrong. I might have heard things wrong. They could have gotten things wrong too. So just, if what I read interests you, you might want to look at the documentary yourself and go from there. Do your own research from there. So anyway, Lydia, Turkey, first coins had art on them. First the heads of gods, and then rulers on coins. Money was made from precious metals, gold and silver. Fugger made it clear to Charles V, and I'm not sure if I got that Charles right.
Who was that again?
Eh?
No, but with Charles V.
Fugger?
The Fuggers, I think.
I
think it's Fugger.
Well, whatever. That without his funds, Charles wouldn't be king. He who had the funds ruled, really. Sold indulgences. Funds built a cathedral. They said which cathedral? I don't remember. Financiers of today are patriots of the arts. They have their portraits painted, collect art. Deutsche Bank collects a lot of contemporary art, hundreds of millions of euros worth. Art has never before fetched such large sums. There are strong fluctuations in art prices. The rate of return in the art market is currently about 4%.
It should be minus 4%, but on modern art. But
yeah. 97% of money does not exist in physical form, is only backed by government law. As long as the wealthy are as wealthy as they currently are, the art market will continue to do very well. Bruges, Belgium, is considered the cradle of capitalism. Dutch East India Company was the first in the spice trade and the first to issue stocks. John Law, France, the Mississippi Company share sales was one of the biggest speculative trading frenzies in history. Law ended up escaping to Venice. He gambled and won money and art. He amassed a collection of nearly 500 pieces. The assets of the Mississippi Company became the backbone of the U.S. economy, sold to Thomas Jefferson for $15,000. And honestly, I don't know if I wrote that figure down correctly. That seems really low, but I guess money was different then. I don't know.
There's been a lot of inflation since then. If you think about it, Thomas Jefferson would be like, well, he would have been president around 1800.
John Maynard Keynes, International Monetary Fund, wrote about his passion for art. He thought art should be supported by the state. Mexican state investment in art. Artists are funded by the government and pay government back in art they create. I didn't quite get how this system works. You have to.
Could you repeat that again?
In-
After John Maynard Keynes?
What? What about him?
Well, just.
He thought art should be supported by the state.
And then what did you say after that?
Mexican state investment. So I guess Mexico invests in art.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they invest in artists. Really, I
this
guess.
would be after
And-
the revolution.
So the artists are funded by the government, and then they pay the government back in art they create. So I don't know exactly how that works out.
Well,
But
they had their revolution 1910 and 1920. Presumably it was left wing. It was just basically a disaster, but there's a reason why Trotsky went there, right? A left winger. The United States was, I think, pretty tolerant of these stupid borderline commies.
and honestly, I don't know if that's really such a bad idea.
The state buying them.
Yeah, like a lot of the time I think, oh, the government shouldn't fund artists and whatever. But if you don't give people work, then sometimes they find other worse ways to spend their time. And really, artists doing art, maybe not so bad, right?
Well, at least it's not robbery, it's theft.
Well,
There's a difference. So you're right. They might be out in the streets killing people for money. But,
I don't know. I think it'd be better to maybe encourage some other behavior. Maybe like we'll buy your art if you put in so many hours of work at this, doing this public service or whatever.
exactly right.
So that they're actually doing something
Useful.
useful.
I think art can be kind of useful.
Mm-hmm.
More literary stuff than visual art. I want to say visual art more
Babies.
than.
Very gutsy chickadees. They're coming right to the table where I put
I
seeds.
thought I saw something
Yeah.
from there. I thought it was a cat. I looked at it.
It's chickadees.
Well,
They're taking the seed I put on the table.
well, we know chickadees to be
They're pretty friendly.
not overly shy.
Yeah. Anyway.
They're really not in your face, though. They're very discreet about coming down, flying your hand. Not as discreet as nuthatches.
Well, I was hoping they would really talk about money art more. Like the actual art on money. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
on stamps and stuff like that. I mean, there are a lot of... when I was young, I loved to collect stamps. I thought it was wonderful. And my dad and I would send letters back and forth, and we'd pick out the prettiest stamps to send each other, And, I mean, you have to wonder. There's a lot of interesting politics around the art on money, too. If you think about it.
And on stamps.
I noticed they changed the $10 bill again recently, and it's like, this has just been a few years, and it's been, why is it changing so much? It costs a lot of money to change things like this.
The Black Lives
And-
Matter thing kind of crested in 2000.
Uh,
So now Trudeau would be looking for.
I don't know. But anyway, wasn't it the $10 bill? They put a hairdresser on the...
They took Sir John A.
Money and-
Macdonald off. I don't like using this, sir, but John A. Macdonald, our first Prime Minister, and second longest or third longest serving Prime Minister. And they put on a woman whose big claim to fame, aside from being a hairdresser, was she was refused access to the seating in a theater, I think down below, had to go up in the balconies, or vice versa. And this was fairly recent.
How recent? Like,
I get the feeling it might have been 50s or something like that. Too recent, really.
okay, yeah.
But yeah.
But in any case, that wouldn't have been a government, like a public function.
Well, the government
right?
would have been allowing it to happen. So it's unacceptable. It has to be acknowledged. But
Yeah.
sometimes it's important to keep things in context. For example, Saudi Arabia still allowed slavery then, if it was in the 50s, even into the early 60s. Of course, there are certain nations in the Middle East, I'm not going to mention the religion that allows it, that still practice slavery.
You could have left it there. The dogs would have eaten it.
I guess. I
Well,
just
maybe.
don't like them eating fish. Anyway, they would have. Boy, they're getting a little kibitzing from the dogs next door. One of them's really
Excited.
cute. It's
Yeah.
a little black
Very
chihuahua.
sweet little dog. Anyway, but there was none of that. They didn't really talk about, well, really at all. I mean, I mentioned a little bit about first they were the heads of gods and then rulers, but that was about it. You know, they didn't talk about the actual art, the art on money, which I would have been interested to hear about that.
Art on stock shares. Yeah. They have all sorts of stuff like that.
Yeah. Because really, I mean, if you think about it, it's hard to see money as having value, really. If it's like they talked about, it used to be actual silver or gold. Okay, that's it has value, right? But now it's pieces of paper, and even the coins, they're not precious metals. They're junk metals. So it's hard to see it as value. The only value it has really is the fact that it has this pretty art on it, and we accept it as currency and whatever. But
So John Maynard Keynes, I think, who helped change that. It used to be thought, particularly in the 19th century, that you had to have gold and or silver backing your money up. In other words, the amount of money you had out in circulation had to be backed up by stuff in the case of the United
like a
States
gold
at Fort
reserve
Knox.
kind of thing. Yeah.
Exactly right. And then they might have started doing it a little bit, taking it off, but it's just it's a convention, really. A lot of people think that it encourages inflation. The government's just, there should be noise bylaws about stuff like that. Anyway,
At least it's day.
what was that?
At least it's the daytime.
I know, but there still should be laws. It is really, really mind-numbing when you're walking next to that stuff.
Oh, I guess that's true because it was loud from here, so it would have been very loud on the road. Anyway. What were you saying?
There's this
Inventions.
idea that it causes inflation. But what's really the value of gold or silver? Particularly silver, because gold is
break down and stuff.
gold is hard to break down. That's why we get these treasures. But silver breaks down. We get these ancient treasures and stuff like that. The gold's still surviving. So you get someone like Marx jibbering jabbering about economics. I think what he had to say about gold was as profound as anything about the value of gold. He was saying it's like this is a translation, it might not be good enough. Concentration of light. That's what gives it its value. I'm going. The thing is, it does hold its value. It stays the same. Paper, can burn or whatever. But the big trouble with gold is it can be stolen. In some ways, it's not that much more stable than your bank account, which is basically, from what I can tell, just some electronic signals out in the ethersphere somewhere. If the bank makes a mistake, you can be out, say, $800. That happened to me once. The last time, basically, I used an ATM. I think I've used one once or twice with I think they probably saw it as supervision, but I was supervising them. So someone working at the bank. So it's just after closing time. I think I was hoping to hit the bank. No, I used the ATM religiously. I withdraw $800, which at that point in time was the limit I could withdraw in a day. And the thing says $800 withdrawn. I'm waiting for it to spit out my money. Nothing comes. Wow. And then, I start venting. I really wasn't ranting to someone else, because they were coming in to use their machine. They were transferring. They were getting a new system for the ATM. They were saying, "Please be patient with us." What? Patient when you take $800? So I started venting to another person. I think they were coming in to use the machine. It's my right to vent, and it's my right. It's almost like my duty to tell folks, "Hey,
you don't want to use this machine because I just lost." Yeah.
So they were still winding down inside. Maybe the big manager came out, and she was a manager. She said, "If you don't shut up, I'm going to call the police on you." Wow, that's interesting. You stole $800 from me, and now you're going to call the police because I'm venting about the situation? What's that about? So the stuff is pretty ephemeral. Luckily enough, she was there. If she hadn't been there, how do I prove?
How would you prove it? Yeah.
That's like I say, I'm not using an ATM anymore. They want you to use it because then they can send more profits to Bank Central or whatever.
All right. Well, you have anything else to talk about money, Art?
Well, I kind of like the cover. I think they went with a Vermeer there. And then Benjamin Franklin. Is that the $1 bill? I don't know who. They always talk about Benjamins or Franklins or whatever. I don't even know. We don't really see that much American money up here. But I don't know. I probably would have enjoyed the whole thing more than you. It's weird how art has been overestimated over the years. Like, it's not really worth much of anything. I don't really see where it really edifies people. Like stuff that's written well. Poetry can kind of help edify as well as entertain. It's probably better to read nonfiction. I can't say for sure. But anyway, like how much inherent value is in this stuff. What would happen is old things made out of gold, vandals would come through. Or not just the German. Vandal actually means something like wanderer. And German is basically English. English is a Germanic language. So when I wandered around, they'd take gold and melt it down. They weren't interested in art, right? And when you look at what conquerors have done over the years. Um, it's amazing how they smashed art, and you just love smashing art. So what's the value?
Well, that actually makes the stuff that survives worth more.
I guess there's that, but
Yeah.
believe me, that's not their intention.
Yeah.
It's just they love smashing stuff up. And in some cases, they consider there's a particular religion out there that is into iconoclasm, and it's not what you think. It's actually Christianity, but they picked it up from somewhere else. They Christianity got into iconoclasm about 200, 300 years after, well, maybe only 100, after another religion came to the fore in the world. Actually, it was just kicking the hind end of Christians all over much of the Christian world. I, I'm definitely not a vandal. I value art, but I don't like its overvaluation. I think people value it for the wrong reasons. And many people in the aesthetic community, they figure there's something edifying about art.
Well, I think people should be doing it. I think everybody should be doing it.
That would be preferable.
Yeah. I think the value is more in the doing it than.
Well, there's a certain something aesthetic thrill looking at this stuff too. In the same way that it's great walking out in nature, but you can get a bit of a thrill for looking at a picture book about nature. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But to a certain extent, it's somewhat like that. Better get out there and practice it. So that's about all I got to say.
Okay.